welcome everybody to the Digital Nomad Experts podcast by Commute. Today you've got all three of us, Jeff, Marissa, and Diego, and we are going to be talking about...
Diego's back.
Yay! Yes, we got... Diego is now part of being a digital nomad. You get really, really different and sometimes not overlapping time zones. So now we've got not overlapping time zones, but closer overlapping time zones. Diego just back from Bali to Germany. Marissa is in the States, and I'm also in the States too. So we've got like a little window now where we can all talk together. So we decided we wanted to do a take on a previous podcast that we did before. We talked about the top 10 locations that you could live for under $1,000. So we're going to do that, except we're going to raise the bar a little bit this time. We're going to bring it to $2,000. And the reason we did that was a couple of reasons. One, the first reason is we wanted to include some more awesome places to talk about. And the second reason is inflation. Everything is more expensive than it was a year and a half ago by quite a bit. And we're seeing that on the ground in some of the places that we're traveling to. So in selecting these places, you guys might have to help me out here. We used a few criteria. One, obviously, had to be under $2,000 all-in living expenses to live in one of these places. Two, it had to be safe. Three, it had to have a digital nomad community of some sort. You get there and you can actually find people and build some community. Had to be workable, good Wi-Fi. And I think the last one was just like walkability, ease of living there, ease of getting there from an airport. It's not like, a bus ride, a plane, a bus.
A train and a boat.
Train and a boat train.
Exactly.
Just not too complicated, somewhat easy for a first-time digital nomad to get there, to live life, and to be able to easily work. So that's what we used. We've got 9 of them for you today. And we'll get into that list. But now we've got all 3 of us. So let's start with Diego and say, hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the show.
We've missed you so much here.
What a warm welcome. It's been a while. Yes, I've been in Bali this whole time, and it's been really difficult for us to coordinate times in general. So now back in Germany, we're only really half a world away. So that makes things a little bit easier.
I love that you guys are still like 10 hours apart.
That's
Jeff
nuts.
And Diego, I think, are 10 hours. And we're like, this is an easy time change now. It's
so
great.
Easy to navigate now. You can do so many activities now. It's great.
That is true. It's in a weird kind of way, I guess, Jeff. We're almost the same distance now in terms of time zone as we were when I was in Bali.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just did a Uno reverse card. And now it actually works a little bit better. Well, maybe give us like the 30-second download on Bali, because we just talked about it as a warm weather escape and 2 episodes ago for winter. How was it for you?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. So I guess an update on my side is just I've been going back to Bali now every year, and every time I've been staying longer and longer. And there's this part of me that goes, maybe this is going to be the place that I'm going to settle in. But there are many other, factors of Bali as well. We can always talk about this for ages. I can give a lot more detail on how it's all, developing and evolving now. But there are some factors that are also kind of pushing me away, or thinking about, what's that next area within Bali where we might really want to go. And that might be something I guess also really interesting for anybody listening in to just understand, well, if I've ever wanted to maybe go to Bali, which of the areas would I want to visit and why? So maybe there's an episode in that in the future as well.
Bali deserves a whole episode. It's like the mecca of nomad destinations, and it's changed a lot over the years.
Well, how you doing, Marissa?
I'm better today. I am
recovering a little bit.
I think almost recovered from COVID and being sick for like the last month. It's been a whirlwind, but I feel this is the best I felt in like a month or so.
Knock on wood. Don't say anything. You said that a couple weeks ago.
And then it's just like, God knows.
And then straight downhill.
I know. I'm just hanging on, trying to make it through the end of 2023 here to get myself to Costa Rica in 2024, get back to like sunshine and tropical palm trees and beach land where like my body and my world make sense. So I think, just reached the end of my time here. I need a little reset outside of the States, which is the beauty of nomad life. You can come and go as your body and your mind want to. So it's about that time, just hanging through the holidays, and then I'll be off. So really just like 2 more weeks or so. I don't know. It's really not that long. And what about you, Jeff?
Yeah, same thing. We'll probably be leaving about the same time, I think. Was it second week of January for you?
First week. Just a couple days after New Year's for me. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I still have to book my flight, but it should be somewhat around the same time. So I'm at that phase now where we've talked about this before. You get home, kind of recharge, get your bearings a little bit, and get all your comforts, and then you start getting itchy feet. And I'm like starting to turn that corner. I'm like, okay. Warm weather is sounding pretty damn good at this point. My toe's been cold for about a month.
Dark.
So
Yeah.
It's getting dark. Yeah. You guys can watch this podcast as the light starts to increase. You just kind of like rise with the sun with me as we take these calls. So yeah, it's getting to be. So yeah, with that, maybe we'll kick the honors over to Diego, the first on the list of places to live for under $2K per month. What have you got?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'd love to start us off with a place in Latin America, because I think that's just going to be a little bit more accessible to everybody. And it's also one of my favorite destinations. I've been here quite a few times. Yeah. So without further ado, Buenos Aires in Argentina. It's the capital city there, just a super, super lively place. And it's got the center of that city. Well, there's obviously different areas as with any big city, but there's that one part, I think it's called Palermo Hollywood, Palermo Soho, that sort of mixed area. It's wonderful because all the buildings are a little bit lower. They're not all these, skyscrapers type of thing. And so you walk around and it just feels like this hipster area. Everything's accessible. Everything's super walkable there. A ton of speakeasies, ton of little cafes and restaurants, and lots of people working from there as well. So it's a city that really invites you in. I also love about it that it doesn't feel like it's you and the city, or it's you and the locals. It's this kind of place where you come in and you really have the chance to get to know the locals, to really be a part of the city and the life in that city, right? I think that's the best way to explore it. Now, I'd love to cover just a few of the things that I think are important to know about it, and that'll kind of give you an idea of whether this might be a destination for you as well. So first one to keep in mind, safety. I would say this is one where it doesn't rank quite as high as what we might want, especially for this list. I think you'll be hearing a few more destinations that are just generally quite safe. Buenos Aires is and isn't, so you got to watch out like any big city, especially in South America, but it's also not inherently unsafe, not significantly less safe than many other cities there. Internet-wise, that's also one where it can be a little bit hit or miss, but generally speaking, you've got internet in all of the cafes. You're going to have probably internet in your Airbnbs. Just double check that as you do rent that out. Apart from that, whether you just want to check that you're going in the right season, because of course there is quite some seasonality in Buenos Aires as well. And am I right? I think, it's inverted from the US because it's the southern hemisphere, so just be aware of that as well. And then in terms of community, you're probably going to find a good number of digital nomads there. Yeah, and just generally like the ease of navigating, I would say it's decently easy to navigate. The only challenges you're really going to find is probably with whether you need cash or not, and the exchange rate, which is fluctuating quite quickly because the currency has been devaluing so much over the last year. So keep an eye on that. You might actually do well to get cash out before. It's one of the few countries where I'd recommend coming in with quite a bit of cash. So you could take out, $1,000 maybe ahead of time, $1,500, $2,000 to bring in if you want to. This episode is below $2,000, so let's say $1,000 should probably do just fine. But yeah, that's everything I've got on Buenos Aires. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that one, or we can hop over to your first one.
It sounds good. I think maybe it was 2 episodes ago now, we recorded an episode on like the warm, destinations to basically go in kind of January, February, March time if you are thinking about winter time for a lot of people in the Northern Hemisphere to go south, and Buenos Aires was a big one. So Jeff and I were also talking about the cash exchange and all of that, because he's going there likely in January, but I think you described it well, and it's a great little place. It's one of the few like kind of big city type feel that also feels like it has a good digital, like you can be part of the city and part of like a local or like a digital nomad there, and the community is really good for either.
I didn't realize that it had the low buildings. I always have it in my mind when I'm going to a big city. It's going to be sky rises, and you're going to be behind shadows and not seeing the sun or anything. So that's kind of everything that you described sound very inviting to me. It sounds like a place I'm really going to like.
And you can find both. There's like a downtown area that does like you can find the bigger business area, but the neighborhoods Diego is talking about, it's kind of like, it feels like it's like maybe 5-story buildings, or it's like kind of lower the hipster area.
I'll have at least a month there, so I'll have to come back with a review, but I'm really excited about it. It sounds like a great spot.
We're certain you'll love it. Well, you want to kick us off with number 2 on the list, Jeff?
Yeah, and we made it a point to list places that fit all those criteria, but were not necessarily our favorites, and that is certainly number 2. For me, I chose Tbilisi. I was there this year for 5 or 6 weeks, so I got a pretty good feel for it. And it just was, as we talked about before, like there's certain places that just kind of click with you. That just feels like a second home. Tbilisi was not that for me, but it was definitely that for a lot of other people. So I thought it was worth including on the list, and especially because it's becoming so much more popular. There was a group of like 40 of us there this year, and it's popular for a lot of reasons. So as we go through some of the criteria, it's like really walkable. You can pretty much, well, depending on where you live, you can live, if you accidentally book outside the main areas where people are living, you can get stuck in just miles and miles of traffic. But if you're living in the main areas where people do live as digital nomads, totally walkable. You got cafes all over the place. Internet, for the most part, is really solid. You're going to find really good internet in the Airbnbs. Like I said, the digital nomad community seems to be growing pretty quickly over there, which also seems to be kind of a trend in Eastern Europe anyways. We still haven't really figured out how or when these things are going to happen. It seems like Diego has a pretty good ear to the ground with these kind of things. I don't. I just, like I said before, I just follow the group. Hey, we're going to Tbilisi this year. Okay, sounds good. So that's how I ended up there. So it's also one of the safest cities in Europe. So if you look up safest cities in Eastern Europe, in Europe in general, you will find Tbilisi pops up on a lot of these lists. And I also felt that to be fairly true, with one caveat: the driving there is absolutely insane. It's the scaredest I've ever been. I drove from Tbilisi through to Armenia, and it's been the most tooth and nail situation I've ever been in. I'm talking like, you'll be on the highway. Normally in your brain, you're kind of like, okay, I'm mentally on cruise control. Not in Tbilisi, not in Armenia. Like it'll be going around a blind corner. Somebody is passing a semi around a goat coming in your lane, and you have to dodge them. And it's like expected that you're just on your heels all the time.
That says a lot for you too, to be scared of anything driving, because I have been on the back of a 4-wheeler with you, like on cliffy, curvy roads in Bolivia with both you and Diego. I generally have no fear. You guys have no fear, and so for you to say you were scared in any sort of vehicle means like that must have been absolutely insane.
Chaotic, absolutely chaotic. I've driven like just about everywhere I've traveled, and there's some places, especially in Latin America, that are pretty wild. Nothing compares to this. They're all driving like they're on respawn mode in a video game. like they have infinite lives, and there's zero fear of it.
It reminds me, Sri Lanka is a little bit like that as well. We joke, there's someone there, so the bus drivers there's these like big colorful buses, and they feel like they're swerving like a video game, like through tuk-tuks or whatever. And apparently, I cannot confirm this, we call them the meth buses, because apparently all the drivers have to stay up for like they're going for so many hours driving overnight all day that I don't know if this is factual true, but a lot of people say like they're literally taking meth or other drugs like to stay awake. And the drive, it's like there's no slowing down, and it's just like they are going and you just get out of the way, and it's like it's wild to experience those types of things.
It was just like that over there, but for no reason. Like you'll be just driving down a residential street, just kind of like a 1-lane small residential street, people walking on the side, and the second you get in an Uber or a taxi, it's just foot to the floor for no reason. They're gonna go full speed down this maybe you should be going 20 kilometers an hour. No, they're going to go as fast as possible. And they're going to be passing people on these streets.
Sounds like an adventure.
I'm like, why? Why are we doing this, people? We don't need to. Even in the buses, like they're passing people on the wrong, around blind corners and everything.
Safest place unless you're in a car.
Unless you're in a car, and then it turns into a whole different animal.
But good cafes and workability.
Workability is great. There's cafes all over the place. And they're, for the most part, they're all like very laptop friendly types of cafes. Yeah, food's good, coffee's good. It kind of checks like all the boxes for a digital nomad spot. The only real caveats there is like high degree of seasonality. Kind of just want to go. Summer was really, really hot. Fall was almost perfect, and then you're not going to find anybody going in winter. So I guess like you've got like a little bit of a window there where you want to go. Other than that, yeah, it's a really good spot, and it pretty much checks all the boxes. You can easily come in under $2K a month. And I'd say, yeah, worth checking out. Lots of stuff to do there as well.
Well, I'll kick it off to number 3. This is also in the theme of like personally not loving the places. I don't know why we've done this today, but this is actually one of your very favorite places, Jeff, and one of my not very favorite places, but this is Mexico City. So I do love Mexico as a whole. I just don't love, I don't love going to big cities like to stay for the month. I did my time. I lived in New York City for like 5 years and lived in LA, born in Atlanta. For whatever reason, I'm like backing away from all the cities now. I like the small towns. However, it is a great one for under 2K. And I have this one on here, personal feelings aside, because like Jeff said with Georgia, it's a lot of people, like Mexico City is a lot of our nomad friends, like favorite place to go. And I would say actually, if I think about the people who have been nomading in our group of friends for, 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of people are now choosing Mexico City as their home base because they love it so much. So the rent here has been creeping up because of what we've talked a lot about on this podcast, which is a lot of digital nomads moving in with more income compared to other places, and it is displacing a lot of locals. So we always do want to point that out and be mindful of it. But right now, it still is a place for some of those most popular, like any giant city. Like you can find different price points of rent in different neighborhoods. But in the main neighborhoods that a lot of our nomad friends like to live, I would say you can still get a pretty good rent price and still kind of get that 2K per month kind of all-in price for that time. So Mexico City is super easy to get to. There's pretty much direct flights from like most places in the world. It is gigantic, so you can't walk from one end of the city all the way to everywhere you go, but within the neighborhoods, like you can definitely walk around and get to a lot that are walkable. I'll have Jeff comment some more because you've spent a lot more time than I have, but the Wi-Fi is great. There's always a digital nomad community there. And also we have a lot of friends who, I would say I have several nomad friends who, for them, it was really important to like make friends with locals and actually kind of build themselves into just the local Mexico City scene and speak Spanish and make, I say real friends, like real local friends, not just our like, sometimes digital nomad world just feels like a play pretend world, even though it's not. But beyond just the digital nomad community, it's kind of like Buenos Aires in that way, where you can fit into, like you can really become a local and fit in there and make friends who live there full time and who are from there, or tap into the digital nomad community or kind of swap between back and forth, which is nice as well. So anything, Jeff, that you want to add? Because I know Mexico City is a place near and dear to your heart.
I just like that it's a time that you can go anytime, like from seasonality weather-wise, yeah. It's usually not a bad time to go. And you can go anytime because at any given point, there's probably going to be somewhat of a digital nomad community there. It's just it's like a gathering point almost. It's people don't necessarily go there. Everyone's going to Mexico City this year. It's just kind of a, it's like a regrouping point. And you can always, and it's always happening. And what I do like about it is enormous. It is like gigantic. 10 million people. It's a mega city for sure.
Yeah.
But when you get into these it's very neighborhoody. It feels like tiny little neighborhoods within a big city. So for me, it doesn't feel that big because each of the neighborhoods have their own kind of feel to them. And it just never felt too overwhelming to me. And I think that's one thing that might put people off. They hear about a lot of bad things about Mexico City. It may be dangerous. It might be too big for me. But when you get there, I do feel like it is a little bit more neighborhoody, and it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming once you get comfortable with your the unique area that you're in.
Yeah, and speaking of safety, Jeff, we actually had I've had a couple of our listeners write into me and say, like, I'm a female. I was thinking about going to Mexico City. It's my first time, like, nomad trip, or just to go solo for a few days to stay somewhere else. Like, is it safe for me? So what are your thoughts on just like the overall safety of the city? Because I think a lot of people think Mexico City, like danger. That hasn't been my experience there, but what do you think?
I think that if I had any recommendations, it would be, if you can, I would probably try to arrive during daylight hours. You might get, it's a huge airport. It might get a little scary and overwhelming when you come out of the airport trying to catch a ride, trying to catch an Uber or something. We've talked about this before in a safety episode, trying to get into your Airbnb for the first time when it's dark out in a new neighborhood. I don't recommend that for most places, especially not Mexico City if you're not comfortable with it. So yeah, I think it is okay, but I think it takes maybe a little bit extra planning on your part. Yeah, try to arrive during the daytime hours. Try to get really, really clear instructions from your host on getting into the spot. And also pick a somewhat safe neighborhood where there's a lot of digital nomads. Yeah, other than that, I would say most common sense rules apply with just imagine you go into a big city. Yeah, exactly. You go into a big city and just use the normal common sense that you would use when going to a big city.
Yeah. And I felt really safe walking around there, especially during the day. At night, like, I was like, I don't know these neighborhoods well enough yet. Like, when it's new, it might feel, but during the day, it felt super safe. And the other thing just to note, and then we'll move on to number 4, is kind of air quality and elevation is a strange one. When people stay there a long time, the air quality is not great. A lot of people notice like health effects on their lungs, on their breathing. So that's a weird one that you might not see on a blog or find, but is like a real thing for people who have been staying there long term.
Now, I was just going to add, and that kind of reminded me of something. I wanted to compare this one to Buenos Aires as well to kind of like round things off and people an understanding of both, because it's something similar that you'll see in Buenos Aires as well. Not as bad in terms of the air quality as you have in Mexico, but it's a big deal. We're starting to check into that a little bit more as well as we travel. So Bali to us also has lower air quality than we would want when we're going to a place. You know, if you're going there for a month or so, fine, but to consider as a place that you're really going to stay for a longer period of time, there's probably 2 considerations. One is what are the potential long-term effects that I'm not even thinking about or not perceiving, and the second one would be what are the short to medium term effects that I personally might have, right? Because there are going to be some people who are more affected by it than others. But yeah, thanks for adding that.
It's a strange, sneaky one. It's like never on my list, but I know people always say that about Mexico City.
I always forget when I get there that it does have poor air quality, and it is at altitude. I think it's actually 2,500 meters in elevation, something like that. You wouldn't think that it is like a mountain city, and I didn't notice it until I went for my normal jog. I'm like,
why can't I breathe?
How did I get out of shape after one plane ride? And it took halfway through the jog. I'm like, oh, that's right. Yeah, there's no air. I'm not breathing anything.
Kind of like sea level or like closer to sea level at least. Because to me, Mexico City reminds me of New York in a lot of ways. But then it's like you forget that you're elevated and then surrounded by mountains. Because if most mountains have, like, Los Angeles or Rio or Cape Town, like, you have those mountains, but then you also have the ocean, so you're like at sea level. But Mexico City's a strange one. So anyway, something to be mindful of for sure. Yeah. All right. I want to kick it back to Diego for number 4.
Cool. Yeah. So for this one, I'm gonna. Well, there's a nice little tie-in to this next one here. I was gonna say one last thing on Mexico that ties into this one, which is learning Spanish, right? Mexico's a fantastic place for that, much more even than Buenos Aires or Argentina, for example, because the Spanish is so easy to understand. So, I guess, quote unquote, clean in the accent, and they don't speak so fast. So if you were, I know a lot of people that reach out to us as well saying like, hey, where can I learn? Or what's a good place for me to learn Spanish? There's a lot of people that just want to improve their language, right? So for the next one that I want to bring up, that I'll take us over to Europe, but also a fantastic place to learn Spanish there. Arguably, probably the best place in Spain because, again, it's a little bit slower in terms of how they speak. and it's I would say probably the cleanest Spanish accent, just easy to absorb. And that's Gran Canaria. It's an island that is really just off the coast of Africa, or there's a set of islands, the Canary Islands. Gran Canaria is one of them, and that's the one that I would also recommend to everyone. Yeah, the cost of living according to Nomad list is $1,900. So again, this is just a point of reference, and I think I forgot to mention that for Buenos Aires. So I'll just say it now: $1,700 for Buenos Aires, $1,900 for Gran Canaria. Again, just a little bit of a point of reference. It is a European destination, so prices tend to be a little bit higher, but really it isn't that expensive for Europe if you compare that to many of the other destinations that you can go to, especially in Central and Northern Europe, right? So I've personally spent 2 months there, 2 different times, and kind of had a quite different experience in each of those. In one of those, I spent in the main city, Las Palmas, which is really where I would recommend for you to go as well, especially if this is sort of your first time venturing out or exploring a place. The second time I went to a very small town called Agaete. The reason that worked out well for us is because we were there with 25 other digital nomads. So we kind of had our community, but it might not be the ideal spot for you unless you do, have a group of people that you're going with.
Can you spell that one, Diego? I know a lot of people are like, where are you guys talking about? Like, it's hard to understand. Yeah, how do you spell that place?
Yeah, thanks for the catch. So Agaete is Agaete. And the other one is Las Palmas, Laspalmas, for the capital. Cool. Yeah. Across all of our metrics, really looking at safety, internet, just is generally fun that you can have there, weather, community, walkability, and ease of navigating the city. I would say it really ticks all of those boxes. So really not too much that we have to hop into there. So I wouldn't worry about that. In terms of the stuff that you do there or the kind of vibe, I'd say it's a more active place, right? So there's a lot of people doing water sports, people just spending time on the beach, maybe playing volleyball. A lot of people love to hike there. There's just a really cool area to hike. You can hike in the sand dunes. You can hike up the volcano, and these volcanic islands, right? So you can hike up that. It's really cool as well. Yeah, and then just generally, it's got that kind of like a little bit more laid back Spanish lifestyle. So great food. People meeting late in the evenings and just going out for drinks. That's your kind of vibe over there. And I think the other really valuable thing to mention when it comes to Gran Canaria is that the weather is weirdly amazing across the entire season, right? So a lot of people from Europe will go there when Europe gets cold because it's still pretty warm in Gran Canaria at that time. We noticed this time around when we went in summer, in the European summer, where it was super hot in Europe. In mainland Europe, we went over to Gran Canaria and we were so happy that the temperature was actually way more manageable there, right? It just doesn't fluctuate as much as it does everywhere else. So that's just a wonderful thing. If you also feel like the summer is just getting too crazy, take a hop over there. Yeah, that's really it on my side from Gran Canaria. So let me hop it back over to you.
What kind of community is there in Gran Canaria? Can you just pick up and go, or is it more of like a plan with a group?
No. So if you go to Las Palmas, you're definitely going to find a community. There's a person there called Nacho. He runs something called People. And or Ignacio. Nacho is a nickname for Ignacios in Spain. And their organization basically just has a bunch of co-lives in the area. I think he runs a co-work there now as well that he's recently opened up. And I would say he's one of the most active local people I've met to date with a mission to try to bring digital nomads to an area. And he's really working together with the government and with different organizations, including ours as well, as we were traveling there. So really cool community there. Definitely worth checking it out.
It reminds me of Banksco in that way, where there's like really one person who has like made nomad life come alive in that place. So I love when we're like, is there a community? You're like, yes, there's a person and he is responsible for all of the community there. But it's real. Like when someone is there and in, like creating that with intentionality, it makes a big difference. And there's usually a lot of get-togethers and like welcoming of new people into big group and WhatsApp chats and just like welcome events, and it makes a huge difference versus like if you go somewhere and it's there's a group of nomads and like they're friends and I have to figure out like how do I meet people versus just like, hey, there's a nomad event and everyone is welcome, and it really revolves in that way. And I would say that makes a huge difference of like being able to jump into a place from day one and make friends and feel comfortable versus like taking weeks to find your people and get set up. And it's often the places, like we're seeing a theme here, where like you can live in a place year around. Or with good, you can live anywhere year round, but where there's good weather year round, that's where it's like easier to really find these nomad communities that are ongoing and not so seasonal. So it makes a big difference.
Very timely on that point. I chose number 5 as a place that you definitely don't want to go year round.
Where is that, Jeff?
Again, has a narrow window. It's Belgrade, Serbia. I was actually just looking up the average temperature right now. You definitely don't want to go right now. You get 9 hours of daylight, which is pretty sad. And about 43 Fahrenheit and 32 Fahrenheit. So this one, again, kind of like Georgia, but more of a narrow window. I did the Eastern Europe trip this year, and my biggest regret is having not spent more time in Belgrade. I actually only had a few days there, but my impression of that place was so strong that I decided it was worth including on the list. Some of the things that I really liked about it is like the city and the people felt very, very approachable. My time in Serbia was probably, when people were asking me how was the trip to Eastern Europe, it was probably the biggest surprise to me, especially the people. They were so welcoming. Like everybody that I met was just really warm. They were very inviting. I said on the podcast before, we went to, when I was living at the Mokran House, which is a co-living just a few hours outside of Belgrade. We went to the town festival, and they invited us, like this family that was working at the co-living, invited us to hang out with their families, gave us food, gave us drinks, made me the grill master. They're like, you're cooking for the family now. It's like very, very inviting people. And I found that to be the same even when I was in the capital, the biggest city there in Belgrade. So Belgrade itself, lots and lots to do. Very, very walkable. You can kind of go wherever you want to go on foot. If you want to, get outside a little bit to some of the outskirts, it's just maybe a 5 or 6 euro Uber trip. Community, yeah, again, with the weather, it's going to be a little bit more on the seasonal side of things. You're not going to, in winter, you're just flat out not going to find anybody there for the most part. But if you're in summer, fall, you'll get a digital nomad community. And the reason why is because it's affordable, it's really, really safe, internet's really strong, and it's like, and during summer the weather is absolutely perfect, and everything's super walkable. So I don't remember, Diego, if you've been there, but Marissa, I know you passed through there as part of a quick trip, right?
I've driven through Serbia as part of an accidental Eastern European road trip, but I didn't spend any time in Belgrade specifically, so can't add to it. But it seems like one that doesn't, like, it seems kind of like a seasonal community, probably like because of the weather, but it's not one in my mind where I'm like, oh, I can think of friends who would be there at any given time of our group versus like, I'm sure you could kind of find people there, but I would say of it, it seems in my mind like community would sort of be the hardest part of that one there.
That would be one of those, like, when we were just talking about how Mexico City is, you don't have to check first, you just go.
Yeah, like you will have friends.
Yeah, you check first, or you bring your friends with you, because it's going to be, it's definitely, out of the list that we've gone through so far, probably the least, I would say, community, digital nomad community oriented place. Though, like we were talking about, Eastern Europe seems to be growing in popularity with digital nomads. So who knows what it looks like in a few years. It might start blowing up. Yeah. One last caveat to throw in there. If you look at it on Nomad list, you'll see the cost of living is higher than 2K, but just keep in mind the way that they're calculating these things is if you're renting like in the downtown city area on an Airbnb with a 1-bedroom house, you don't need to live that way. A lot of these places, there's a wide spectrum of how you can live, and you certainly can live that way in Belgrade if you want to, spend some money, but you certainly don't have to. And you could easily come in under that 2K based on the cost of living that I saw there. The cost of food is very, very affordable, and you can get very inexpensive places to live.
Perfect. Well, with that one, we will go to number 6 on the list, I believe. And quickly before we do, if you are listening to this, whether you're a longtime listener, maybe this is your first episode, if you could give a quick 5-star thumbs up review, subscribe, all the things. It really helps people to find our podcast and keep on growing. So we want to thank you if you've already done that. And with that, I will kick to number 6. So Diego mentioned this one a little bit already. It's one of both of our favorite places, which is Bali, Bali in Indonesia. I love Indonesia. I want to explore so much more of it, but we're going to go with Bali for this one just because it's the most popular of all the Nomad locations. I first met Diego there actually back in 2018, many moons ago, and went back. I think it was last year. I can't remember now. Last year or 2 years ago. I think it was last year. And it has changed so dramatically in this time. So I think this one is worth mentioning that I believe I probably had Bali on our 10 places to live for under $1,000 when we did this episode a year and a half ago-ish. And I would now put this closer to the 2K bucket. Like anywhere, you can certainly still live for under $1,000 if you are not in the main areas in Canggu or Ubud. So that's Canggu is Canggu, and Ubud is Ubud. So those are the two most popular nomad locations. Uluwatu is another growing one. But the neighborhoods there are just changing so much. And I would say when I first went to Bali, you could probably find like an amazing villa by yourself with the pool and like gorgeous decorations for easily under $1,000, probably $500, $600, $700 a month, like in the absolute best location you want it to be. And now I would say that the same exact villa or whatever you would find would probably be double that. Like I'm saying it's closer to, I would say it's like $1,600 easily for what I could have had for 800, maybe more. Yeah. Like it's crazy how much it's changed, because so many digital nomads are there, because Bali is magic. It really is just pure magic. So I'll give like a couple of the little comments on all the categories, and I'll let Diego chime in too, because he's just spent the last couple months there. And before that was there for a couple months as well. So it's been, it's just an amazing place to live. But I would say when it comes to safety, there are some actual strange things that I feel like have changed there, but there's always things to watch out. Like people do grab phones. Like I would say even compared to Thailand, like it's not as safe, because people might grab your phones, they might steal some stuff, but overall it just feels like a very, like it's what we call, it's kind of like petty crime, but like I feel very safe being in Bali. The people, the locals are just like kind, wonderful, amazing humans. It's weirdly not at all walkable, which you would think it would be, but that's because there are 0 sidewalks and you have to get everywhere by scooter. So it's very scooterable and everything feels really close and easy. But like if you're on foot, like you will just get run over by a scooter. Like it just is, it's not walkable, which is a weird, strange thing about it. But that's actually one of my least favorite things about it. But cafes are amazing. The Wi-Fi is great. There's just like the most incredible views and side trips to do and weekend trips and things to explore. It's just like the magic is endless. And the community, there's like, you feel like you're just in a community of nomads. I remember when I got there the first time, it was one of my first nomad locations. And it was the only time I think I was just like, wow, I feel normal here. Like no one's asking me what I'm doing, how I'm living, how I'm working from my laptop. Like you're you're abnormal if you're not doing that there. So that's sort of like just the lay of the land. But Diego, what do you want to add for our wonderful Bali?
Yeah, just as you've been going, I've been trying to think of a few more interesting things about it. You've covered so much. I'd say maybe it'd be interesting to know that scooter rental, because scooters, you can love them or hate them, and there certainly is a bit of both.
Yeah.
There's so much traffic because of that right now, and that's definitely frustrating. They can be really loud, and I'm an old guy now, so that's a problem for me these days. But yeah, you can rent them for less than $100, so it's that part's incredible.
Per month.
And then, per month, right? And you can just you're zooming past palm trees on the past the rice terraces. It's absolutely stunning. Like it's one of, I remember when I first went there 2016, it was one of my one of those core memories, one of the strongest feelings I've ever had, and I've always wanted to hold on to that. And I come back to Bali even just for for that one experience. So that's a big deal. I'd say when it comes to safety, something to mention really related to scooters as well, is it has become a little bit less safe to be driving a scooter yourself for good reason. I mean, most of us don't actually really know how to drive a scooter or a motorbike, and we just kind of rent it and we just go. But it's not just you, it's also all the other tourists who have no idea, and that makes it inherently a little bit less safe. The locals obviously all know what they're doing, and they're actually way safer than the tourists are. So that's something to be aware of, that if you're going to, grab a scooter, definitely get some lessons. I really, really recommend that before going out there. Other thing to know is maybe time zones. It's quite challenging. I've just been spending so much time there, and even just, we talk about it a few times, just trying to connect with Jeff and Marissa, whether that's to do the podcast or the other work that we're on. It is challenging, right? And the more you have to relay with team members, the harder it gets. I've spent a month with somebody who had to work actual US hours and was working, all throughout the night. It's nuts. I wouldn't really recommend that. So more for people who have a little more flexibility in their work hours. What some people will say about a place like Canggu specifically is, yeah, but I don't like the fact that it feels like it's just been created for tourists. I think you have to be able to hold the good with the bad or the negative side of things. One way to look at it is, it's almost like there's this one area is really just for foreigners. On the other side, it is the most, I'm confident to say, the most international place on earth, with the most different nationalities all in one tiny space, interacting together, getting to know each other, getting inspired from each other. And so in a weird kind of way, it feels like it's like this ultra international place that's a little bit like San Francisco, and that everybody has their own little project that they're working on, their startup. Everyone's trying to figure something out, and they're all kind of creative, exciting, but way more chill than San Francisco. Like, it's not your, heavy tech scene kind of thing. So yeah, maybe that just describes a few more things about Bali that are worth knowing.
Yeah, and one day I feel like we need a whole episode on on Bali, which we don't normally do, but I do feel like that one it deserves it, because it's like an interesting case study of nomad life and what it's like and how it's changed. But that's a great one.
Even just how it's changed, right? Understanding that journey is fascinating. We've been looking at it for 8 years now, right? So yeah, I'd love to share that. I think that could be a really cool one. Well, let me hop into my last one, I think, for today. I've got one. We're going to take it all back over to Europe. This one's going to cost you $1,600 a month according to Nomad list. So right around that mark as well. Definitely affordable. And I feel that it's actually become more affordable in the last year. The year before, it was really popular, a little bit more expensive. And yeah, I'm talking about Istanbul. Istanbul in Turkey, capital city, also a massive, massive city. Very similar to what you were saying, Jeff, there about Mexico City, and similar to maybe Buenos Aires, in that it is this big city, but with these small neighborhoods that if you're in one of those, cool hipster type neighborhoods, it feels like you can just, like, you're in a small place and you just walk anywhere and you're experiencing this kind of small, low buildings kind of place. But really you're part of this huge city. Istanbul, I think, also comes with this bonus that if you care to kind of dive into the history of it, and maybe I think there's a few documentaries on it that were released recently. We watched one of those while we were there. It's fascinating because it is this point between Asia and the Middle East and Europe that's always been sort of, it's gone back and forth and back and forth, and so it's this mix of cultures over the centuries that's happened there. So really, really fascinating place in that sense. Yeah, in terms of all of our kind of metrics: safety, internet, fun, weather, community, walkability, ease of navigating it, I would say all of them are pretty much ticked in terms of being a solid spot for somebody who's kind of starting out their nomadic journey. The one that you might find a little more challenging maybe is community. There doesn't seem to be that much established there yet in terms of the digital nomad space. There are some for sure, and so you are going to be able to find some people, but it's just not as established as many of the other places. Yeah, I think that mostly covers it. You're going to want to figure out the area that you want to be in. There are several, but I think the one that we were in was called it was Karakoy, so Karakoy, I believe. So have a look at that. That's everything on Istanbul.
What time of year do you want to go there? It can get sweltering hot, right?
It's a European destination as well in that sense in terms of the weather. It can get hot, but I feel like it wasn't as bad when we were there at sort of midsummer even as Spain, for example, or Italy. So on that front, it's a little better. But it can also get very cold in the winter. So just apply the same principles as for Europe. I would kind of dodge the heat of the summer and the main tourist season, And I would probably also dodge the winter times.
Love it. Yeah, Turkey's a fascinating place. Just the culture and the blend of different cultures, and lots of like trips to do within Turkey, and it's a cool place.
I'm kind of bummed. I'm maybe not bummed, but I did Serbia instead of Turkey. It was going to be one or the other. So I'm going to have to push that till next time. Yeah. Number 8 is Antigua, Guatemala. I think this one is a perfect digital nomad spot. When we're looking at these criteria, it's like it scores high marks on every single one of them. It's super affordable. You can walk the whole thing like corner to corner in like 25 minutes. So wherever you want to go, you get to know the streets. And I don't know about you guys, but 1 week of being there, I had all my landmarks. I'm like, here's the dessert shop, here's the arches, here's this restaurant, and I knew how to get around to all these spots. There are so many workable cafes there. It's hard to miss them, really. Good internet. The food there was really, really good. The people were really, really nice. And it also checks what seems like we're getting into a theme here. Maybe it should have been a criteria is how often what times a year can you go there? Any time of year. It looks like I just looked up the weather report. It apparently doesn't even change there. Like it varies by like a couple degrees from the high of the year to the low of the year. Daylight hours stay about the same. I'd say the only thing is everybody told me it was going to be really affordable, and it turns out that the prices have been going up there a little bit. It was a little bit surprisingly expensive. Still clear under 2K. I'm just using like Latin America as a reference point, and as far as that goes, it's probably similar to what I experienced in a lot of places in Mexico. It's probably about the same as Oaxaca, but like nowhere near Costa Rica levels, so it's like totally fine. Yeah, tons of things to do there. You've got you can climb the mountains if you're so inclined to do that. You can go to the lake there. What was the lake's name? Atitlan. Yeah. Just beautiful landscape all over the place. So yeah, it's for me, it's a place that I could easily I want to settle down for like 3 to 6 months in a spot, and I feel like I would be totally fine there. There's just you could spend all 3 to 6 months just going to all the coffee shops, trying to hit every coffee shop, every restaurant, and maybe still not get the job.
And still quite underrated, Jeff. It always surprises me. We just did a survey to our entire community, and it came back as a destination that just wasn't on people's minds. It wasn't, people just didn't expect to want to go there. And then once we start to talk about it more, and people actually like, there's one of our trips is there right now. People are raving about it, and they're like, wow, one of the best places we've been to, really want to go back, right? So it's a great time if you're listening to this, like put it on. Of all the destinations that we talked about, I think this is the one that's going to change the most in the next year or two. So really put it on your map so that you get to see it before it becomes kind of overrun. So that's why you're listening to us, right? So you get the inside scoop before it's too late.
I was surprised by the community there. Actually, I was sitting in a cafe, and this lady pointed at me and said, "I know you. I listen to your podcast." I'm like, "Oh, what? Hi." Like, that's how she introduced herself. I was like, "Oh,
that's awesome."
Yeah, okay. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I've been listening to your podcast for a while. I know who you are. Good to see you." And then she walked off and went to the cafe. Yeah, but there's it's one of those places where it seems like there's always a little bit of community there. So I just went there with my girlfriend, and it just happened to be other people there, met other digital nomads. So it's, kind of like Mexico City in that way. It seems like there's a small, it's not very big. There's not ever going to be a huge community there because the city's not very big, but there always seems to be some sort of presence there on the ground. So get in while the getting's good.
It might mean that the place is never going to get overrun, but instead that it's going to get really, really expensive. And that's worth noting because the Antigua truly is limited in its size.
Tiny little, yeah.
Yeah. And it will become one of those gems that a lot of people want. And it's just natural, right? As soon as the demand is high, locals are going to realize that they're going to start, it's just normal. They're going to charge whatever price somebody's willing to pay. And that's going to keep on going up. So yeah, get in there before it gets super expensive.
Yeah, and that's when I think the limiting factor, the reason it hasn't totally blown up as a nomad location is because of Wi-Fi. Like when I was there, I guess I was there in 2021, so not that long ago. And the Wi-Fi, like we had to get our Airbnb host to set up a special Wi-Fi for us to make sure it was fast enough. And it's still like it's like just usable. So I think once Wi-Fi like really becomes super, like if you look at blogs or like any threads about it and different nomad things, everyone's like, can you work there? Is the Wi-Fi good? And it's really not great. So as soon as that really just picks up, I think like you said, Diego, it's just the prices are gonna go soaring. It's really underrated. So it's an awesome place.
Did you guys go to Habatanengo? Little hobbit town?
I did not. I was so just like day tripped out because there's so much to do there that it's like one of the most popular things. And I was just like, I can't even do it. I think I told you to go there though, because everyone loved it.
Yeah, it's so silly. It was great. It was a great use of a day. It's like maybe a 4-hour type of thing, a 20-minute drive outside the city, but
yeah,
it's totally fun, totally worth doing.
With that, I'll take it home with the last one, number 9 on our list, kicking still in Central America area, and this is my beloved, Playa del Carmen. I feel like it makes every list no matter what. This one, I can't remember. It might have also been on the under $1,000 list a year and a half ago. I should have gone back and checked, but
I think so.
I think it was, and I would say, interestingly, yeah, this one is similar to Playa in the way that the prices have doubled, like easily doubled since I first started going there. So to get, you can still find like a really great, like modern apartment with a swanky rooftop pool and the doorman and like prime location for under $2,000 for sure. But it used to be so easy, and now you've got to like really look and kind of scour to find what you're looking for to get a good price and book it more long term. And definitely if it's during holiday season, it's going to be even more than that. So this one is seasonal as well, just in terms of avoiding the holiday of tourist season. And you've got, I would say the thing that limits people year-round going to Playa is it gets really, really hot in July, August. So I would still go there, but it's hot. It's like you walk outside and you're just sweating, and people don't love that.
For you, that must be really, really hot because your tolerance is pretty high.
My tolerance is high. And then also October-ish can be hurricane season. So it's sort of hit or miss. You might get absolutely nothing, but I was there in October, I think of 2020, and we had like 3 hurricanes within a month, and that can disrupt work and electricity and all of that. So other than that, I've talked about Playa a million times, but it's super close to the U.S., so I think that's why you've got like a lot of nomads just time zone wise if people are working North American time zone. I love it because it's not like I feel like you have all the conveniences of a city. This has sort of been a theme of this one too, but you have lower rise buildings, so it might be like 10-story buildings or 5-6-story buildings, but it doesn't feel like you're in giant skyscraper land. It's like a miniature city, and it reminds me of kind of the size of Antigua and Guatemala, because you can walk just a bit, like you can walk everywhere, and it has everything you need. So it's right on the ocean. A lot of beach towns don't have, like if your phone breaks, your computer breaks, or you need something, like you often can't get it in a lot of nomad locations, especially beachy. But in Playa, it's like there's malls, there's electronic stores, like anything you need is like 2 doors down. Somehow it's like a magical land. I don't know how it happens because it's teeny and it has everything within a block from where you are. Tons of great cafes and places to work from. It's not as great of food if you think about like Mexico and local cuisine. It sort of popped up as a tourist land, like it's kind of built just on the ocean by, Cancun is super touristy, Playa is super touristy. So it doesn't have like the amazing tacos that like Mexico City have, or amazing local authentic traditions and cuisines. But in terms of just like, if you're looking for a place to live as a nomad, it reminds me of Bali a little bit in that way, Diego, if you're saying it's a lot of just international nomads who have kind of gathered in this destination, mixed with a lot of real American tourists that you just sort of want to avoid on the strip. So it's a weird little place, but it works really well for nomad life, and it still fits the under 2K. So I love it. And community, like you can, like you said, Jeff, with some places you don't have to ask. Like I just go and I'm like, all right, there's 10 friends here who I've traveled with all over the world who happen to be here now, and more coming. So it's one of my favorite places for community. Yeah, everyone just always kind of, if you don't know where to go, like you just kind of go to Playa. So it's a good place if you are just looking for something easy and a place to work, but still want great weather and beach and fun day trips and go scuba diving. There's lots there. So that's my thoughts on Playa.
We always used to call it the place where digital nomads go to rest and to take a holiday or to, from the nomad life, because it's perfect in every way. It's almost too comfortable. It kind of pulls you in and you don't feel like leaving. So it's got that to it.
100%. I would say the con of it is it's not beautiful. Like it doesn't have the beauty, like in terms of just when you're walking down the streets or riding in the cars, it's not, Antigua's like so quaint and like beautiful to look at. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the whole city. Bali is like everywhere you turn, you're like, they're disappearing some, but rice fields and just like a lot of beauty in some of these places. Playa, it reminds me of Los Angeles, where you drive around, you're like, these buildings are ugly, like the streets, there's like wires hanging everywhere, like it's not beautiful, but like you said, if you've been on the road or you're looking for an easy place, it's very livable. And I always tell people, like, I wouldn't go on their vacation. Like, it's not where I'd recommend, like, this place is amazing. It's not like the beaches are often filled with seaweed and tourists. And so it's like, it's not the best for that. But if you're just looking for a lot of the boxes to check of an easy place to live as a nomad, or you've been moving around or just starting, like, it's a great place for that.
What's an Airbnb going to run you there per night?
Yeah, so I would say, like, if you get like a month, if you're not there like December kind of Christmas time and you're getting like a month place, you can get a really nice, it's like the very typical boxy, just like bare bones, but like it's got your kitchen, your furniture, your bed, a nice rooftop pool and a doorman. You could probably find for like 1,800, I would say. And it's maybe pushing out a little bit farther from the town center than it used to be. But it might be like, if you're really looking to be like right in the middle for a pretty modern place you love, it might be a little over 2,000 now, but you could definitely find 1,000 to 1,600 depending on, what you're looking for.
That's it for this episode. If there's any other places you can think of, write us in. We'd love to talk about it. That's hello@beachcommute.com. And again, please help us out with reviews. It helps get this podcast out to a lot more people. A lot of people find us organically searching through either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So yeah, just take 5 seconds, give us a quick review. It doesn't even have to be a written one, though we love those because we like to read those on the podcast. Other than that, it's good to have all three of us on a podcast again. Love it. It's been a while. We will see everybody next week.